Testing 1 2.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to call to order the zoning administrative hearing on October 12th, 2021. It is now 5:02 p.m. And we're just going to go ahead, if you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to oral communications. Do we have any oral communications?
We do not.
Okay. Then we move right along into the regular agenda. Item 4A, the Casa Rana. Hopefully I said that correctly. I'm just going to go ahead and pass it on to Todd Murrow, the project planner on the project, to give a brief presentation.
Thank you. This application was originally, I think, scheduled for September 28th, so it was continued date certain to this date of October 12th. And that was basically to kind of renotice the application. This is, I think, our first live meeting, I believe. This may be the actual first live one. Anyways, so the application is for a coastal development permit to construct a new house at 215 5th Street. And this is essentially the plan. Hopefully you guys can all see that. I think there's a zoom here, but basically the project is proposing some improvements there along the frontage. They're going to dedicate some right-of-way as well as push the setback 20 feet back from that ultimate right-of-way. So you can see the setback line to the building will meet the R11 setbacks, which is the zoning that it's in. It's also in the coastal appeal zone. And the house itself, let's see. Where my notes are, sorry. It's approximately 2,912 square feet. It has a detached garage here in the back, as well as an accessory dwelling unit proposed above it. Those are in the rear yard setback, and those are compliant with municipal code and state law for the ADU. Additionally, the site does have an average lot slope that's greater than 10%. And so the building envelope, so I can shift this for you, here we go, does get smaller as it comes towards the street of 5th. This kind of gives you a better indication here on the north. You can see as the building gets pushed towards 5th, it's actually getting smaller. And that is to comply with the height as measured from the crown of the road. So essentially what we do is we go up 12 feet to this first line, and that would be for any flat roof projection as it continues along the grade here. So that purple line kind of shows that any flat roof element is compliant, as well as this upper line here is showing any pitch roof or projection ability is up at the 16 mark from the crown. So we have kind of two measurements that follow the grade all the way to the rear property line. And essentially what we're seeing here is a building that complies with the height envelope. And we can just see, I'll show you the front elevation is this west. You can see it's almost appears as a single story from 5th. Same thing, the crown at that point is kind of angled. It's kind of going from the north to the south as it heads down towards Moonlight, the cul-de-sac. And so you can see essentially those two lines I was talking about, this lower line, which is blue, the 12-foot mark, and the flat roof elements are below that, as well as this higher line, which is showing the projection allowance of 4 feet, and this shed-style roof is also compliant with that envelope. They're doing grading. They are cutting out sections here. Those quantities do comply with normal allowances, not triggering any discretionary review beyond. And I guess wanted to show just some of you can see the detachments. The house is essentially kind of here in the middle. There will be a roof deck above, and then there's a gap of essentially 6 feet to the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit above the detached garage. They will be doing full alley improvements on the back, undergrounding utilities, and then providing best management practices. This kind of shows the site layout, so you can kind of see different permeable pavers around the site as well as landscaping. There is a Italian stone pine, that's what it is, that will remain. That's in the right-of-way, so that'll essentially be there. Like I said, they're dedicating this right-of-way back, and then they'll be doing a DG trail around that, which will all become part of the city's right-of-way. So this will be a public pedestrian easement there. Other than that, and we can just generally go through the floor plan. You can kind of see the layout of this is the lower floor, in the family room, bedrooms, the garage, which would be off the alley, and then looking at the upper floor plan, which shows the great room, master room, kitchen, whatnot, and then the ADU itself above. So that concludes our presentation. Staff is recommending approval, and we're available for questions. I think, do we want to go on the record? And I did receive a comment, I believe is it Kathy? Okay. And maybe you want to state your comments again for the record, but I did email you back answering some of those questions related to height, and you had some concerns with construction noise, correct?
I'm not worried about noise, first of all.
Okay. Yeah.
The only two things that I'm worried about are,
Well, what we'll do before you get into that, so what we'll have you do is approach the mic and get on the record. But she'll call you up here in a second, and then we'll go through that. But I just wanted to make sure that you do get on the record. So we did receive your comments.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll go right into public speakers. This will be a great time for you to come up and just go ahead and reiterate those questions, and then Todd can answer them, so we can get them as part of the record. Okay, you can go ahead and, yeah.
never done this before. First of all, I think your designs are wonderful. I'm thrilled. Transparency about the whole process is the most important, so you and I will deal with most of that. The concern that I have is when there's construction fencing, and I did email today, will the construction fencing have like a mesh or wind barrier so that as the construction is happening, is it gonna all the dust is gonna go to my house during construction? That's a question I have.
We can definitely get an answer, I'm sure, from the contractor. That's not something we had considered, but I feel like it's a good point.
It's just a valid point, because obviously everyone's gonna be looking straight into my house during construction, and, I've got young daughters, and I just wanna make sure that, if that's a possibility, that would be wonderful.
My understanding, and our architect was here, but they put up, you cannot see through the fence.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, I mean, that's typical of construction. And then the other thing they do too.
Sorry, really quickly, we want to just make sure that this all gets part of the record. So, so if she can just list all of her issues, and then we'll call you up to respond to them individually. So if you want to take notes and go ahead and respond, just so we get it part of the record and it's clean that way. It's okay. This is great that you are all having conversation. This is very good. But I wanted to make
no,
sure.
I'm excited to have a good neighbor.
And Kathy,
sure.
if you wouldn't mind speaking into the microphone so we can
Okay.
get it.
So the first issue was the fencing, to see if you could see through, so you could see into my bedroom. The second issue was, I learned today that the construction hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I kind of expected that to be 7 to 5. So is that like a city question I have for you? Will construction be going on until 7 at night every night? Okay, that's number 2. And then number 3, this is an ongoing challenge, and you will also experience this when you live there, is that blocking that alley, there's a lot of times people will park behind my garage, and it's not legal to park there. So as the construction workers are coming, I want to make sure that I understand they are available to park in normal parking spots, which will probably be in front of my house. But I want to make sure that it's monitored closely on the alley, so that if I have to leave my house to go to a meeting or to do anything, that I don't have to call someone to tow a car. Those are my 3 issues. And I think they're all very reasonable. Nothing great. I think your plans are wonderful. So that's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much. So then we'll ask then the applicant to come up and respond to those items, and then I'll see after if staff wants to respond to any of them.
Yeah, so to address issue 1, construction fencing, as I understand
Sorry
it.
to interrupt. Can you just move the microphone?
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, to address issue 1, as I understand it, the construction fencing will be completely opaque, and that seems to be pretty standard for all the projects I've seen. The other one, I know Kathy was concerned about the dust. I do know that when they're grading, they will hose down the property at any time before they dig, so to mitigate dust. I've seen that in the other houses that I've built. The construction hours, I've been lucky to get somebody on site from 10 to 2 when I've built a property. So it's absolutely news to me that they can be there till 7 p.m. because I've never been able to get, like I said, them to stay past 2 o'clock. But that's something we can look up and communicate with Kathy directly. I wouldn't expect them to be there at any time past 5. And then with regards to the alley parking, that's something obviously we will be concerned with as well. And we'll definitely communicate to the contractors and all the subcontractors where their subs are expected to park during the building process.
Okay, thank you. Does staff wish to respond to any of the items?
Sure, I think the construction fencing, that's typically standard with a grading permit. So what they're gonna do is they will show how they secure the property as part of that plan. And the details aren't typically shown at this level until they actually are going through that process. So it's pretty standard. I mean, there is some fencing there, but they likely would work with you, I'm sure, on something else as well. Construction hours are actually 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and that is cited in Chapter 9.32, 410, construction equipment. So it does talk about that. So it talks about a decibel level rating, and it can't exceed that for like a sustained hour. So if it becomes a real nuisance, I mean, the protocol typically would be file a code complaint with code enforcement here at the city, and then ultimately they would monitor it to see if it exceeds. And then obviously alley blockage, same thing. I mean, that wouldn't be something we would want to see or encourage. They do need to show how construction traffic either is on site, as we had kind of indicated, or I indicated in the email, but at the same time, there's nothing precluding them from parking in the street on a public, curb or whatnot on the public right away on 5th or around the corner. So that would also be the sheriffs that would typically enforce that. It wouldn't be a code enforcement thing. So if there are blockages, I know that's a big concern with neighbors just in that general area with beach drop-offs and coming up that alley. So it's a sheriff's issue and having them enforce it, ticketing or towing. So those are my answers.
Thank you very much. I would add too that during construction, the workers, if it's them parking in those areas, I believe that the requirement also for construction is to have a supervisor's name on the fencing so that she can call you all first to say, hey, you're impeding my my driveway. And I do see also there's grading operation timelines that are shorter. They do end at 5:30 p.m. So I believe there's some for more of like the building construction, and then there's hours for grading. So those are standard in our municipal code that are allowances for those hours.
Can I add one more thing to the record?
Absolutely.
Hopefully this will help. So in terms of the construction, I mean, I feel like the majority of the noise comes from timber framing because it's a 4-month, 5-month process with cutting and hammering and nails and things like that. We're actually doing a steel frame home that's built off-site, so it will be assembled in 3 weeks, and there will be no hammering or no cutting or timber or anything like that. So.
Thank you for adding that to the record. I see behind the mask, I see a little bit of a smile, so that's better. Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comments? I think you guys are all part of the applicants team. No more public speakers?
No more.
Okay, thank you. Let me just make sure my notes. Okay. With that, I am going to go ahead and move to approve case number CDP-004380-2021. And with that, I am going to adjourn the meeting. So thank you, everybody.